I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'll start with the roll call. Ms. Klakowski, Mr. Babcock,
Here.
Mr. Warner,
Here.
Ms. Suster,
Here.
Mr. Meyer-Holtz, Mr. Easterwood.
Here.
So everyone had a chance to review the agenda and the minutes. If so, do I have a motion to mark the minutes as read?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? A couple old business items here. We first have final reading resolution 2024-4, resolution authorizing the sale of village property by internet auction. Any further discussion on that? We have a motion to mark as read or to for approval. I'm sorry.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And this will serve for as the second reading for an ordinance making supplemental appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. And just as a reminder, this is to add $6,500 to the contractual services for sheriff. Any further discussion on that? Okay, Stephanie, anything for council?
In that folder, there is a liquor permit. We just have to accept it or ask for a hearing, so we just need a vote
That's a
on.
good transfer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are they transferring it from Rednex? Or they transfer?
it's just to a different owner, same location, just the owner is different.
Is it in the financial?
No,
report?
it's just.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Okay. So everyone had a chance to look at that. Any questions about that? Seems like it's for the marathon. Is that what we said? Okay.
We need a motion or anything on that?
Yeah, I'll take a motion to approve it. Sure.
Sure. I'll make the motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else?
That was all I had.
Anything for Harold?
He's not here.
He's out on vacation. Yep.
Okay. I called him the other day and asked him about the intersection 235 and Taylor Street.
Okay.
I'm just curious what he found out because on the corners, they're starting to, the asphalt's starting to sink. It's starting to crack the asphalt.
On the new construction?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw some guys out fixing the guardrail there.
Yeah, this was
On the
actually,
opposite side, right?
on
Or
both
like-
sides actually.
Oh, okay.
Both sides are, in
went.
the radius, it's all dipped down now. I don't know if it's.
I know he sent me pictures,
He didn't,
but
I told him to
Didn't
send
say
pictures, but
okay.
I didn't.
I didn't know.
Okay. Well, I can talk with him, make sure he's reaching out. Anything else? All right. Any questions about Ken's report? Or Stephanie, do you have anything?
He did just send an email earlier that said he received a response from Ambrose and he is looking into the Sycamore and Rush Street properties that were kind of
Awesome.
ignored as the trans people.
Go Ambrose. All right, cool. We can move on to some committee reports. We had was it the actual board that met on the 6th?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we have Brittany's report from the Sports Initiative Board.
They launched advertising for the town ball sign up. As of February 6th, there was over 100 kids online signed up for overall OTB. I'm sure everybody has seen all the signs all over town. The sign. They had in-person sign up here in the town hall, 217 and 218. I think they had about 20 kids, like 8 one day and like 5 or 6 the next. So between 15 and 20 kids. That was in person. They started discussion about a movable mount, so softball can play on the big diamond. They were gonna look at pricing and ideas and just brainstorm that. Mr. Myers tabled the idea of adjusting the business sponsorships and just leaving them, they're just gonna leave them as is this year. They're gonna do a survey of the kids when they come through on the teams and ask them what type of uniform they want, and stuff like that. So that way they know for sure what sponsorship would cover in uniform wise. They're gonna gather information on how to improve and update the concession stand and see if it can be made better from what it currently is, which honestly wouldn't be hard in their opinion. And then they motioned to allow the adult league based in Bowling Green that played last year to use the field on Sundays, starting in August through November. The sponsor letter went out to businesses, so they got a couple, I think 1 response so far, but other people of interest have contacted.
Awesome.
I know more, their next meeting is on, I think, the 6th of March. Because they have to know how many teams they have total for the OTB by the 10th, so they're gonna meet right before, so that they have a solid number.
Awesome. Great summary. Any questions for Brittany? All right. We had administrative process on the 12th.
In attendance for myself, Dean, Stephanie, and Jessica. We discussed meeting summaries. Would like to have committees now put together notes similar to the way we do council meetings. We will approve those at the next meeting and then make them accessible on our website. Since Harold's on vacation this week, he had requested that Tom cover him in case we had a snowstorm, and that brought up the discussion of putting all updating the included pay schedule for regular part-time maintenance, seasonal part-time maintenance, and I believe there's that's under new business. EMS contracts are up at the end of the year. The recommendation of this committee was for the fiscal officer to put together a packet of current contracts with entities and possible increases and changes and recommendations from the billing company. Stephanie did note that the Village of Milton Center has over $4,000 of outstanding checks for unpaid runs and refunds, run refunds. Multiple letters have been sent, no response. So Stephanie's proposing to void all the checks and apply it as a credit to their contract amounts. And if there are any credits due, these will be applied towards future contract amounts until contact has made. Did we discuss that committee that maybe going to one of their council meetings? If I knew when those were.
I have
available.
no idea. Because usually if you can't have a council meeting or it has to be changed, and this is just specific to council meetings, they have to be put in the newspaper, and I never see anything in there, so.
Yeah.
So I have no idea when their meetings are.
So is finance committee handling the EMS contracts then?
No, I believe the recommendation was to have the fiscal officer just get you like where everything's at and then let your committee review it.
I'm gonna say, because Kathy and I have been talking about it.
Right.
And we're gonna do it, but.
Yeah.
One thing is they're not due until the end of the year.
Correct,
as
yeah.
Kathy stated.
Yeah.
The one thing that is due is unpaid runs in April, by April.
Okay. Yeah, we should review those numbers.
So if we have that information, that would be helpful.
Gotcha.
I don't know whether that's gonna come through the billing company or not.
No, Jesse handles it.
Jesse has.
Yeah.
We also discussed financing for the Main Street project and also grants that are available. Stephanie has put together quite a bit of information on that. The financing for the Main Street project will go to Public Works for them to review. And then also, for instance, like CDBG will go towards will go to the Community Development and Public Affairs Committee to look into that for a safety corridor. We had a discussion on past sidewalk programs, comments from citizens regarding sidewalks. There was discussion about a sidewalk income tax discount, but it turns out Rita kind of doesn't think that's a very good idea. Sidewalk repair program continued to be discussed, and Stephanie is going to reach out to other municipalities and see what kind of sidewalk programs they have. We just, speaking about grants, Stephanie is going to post a kind of a basic call out for a grant writer on our Facebook page. And then also, I guess, it was brought up that there are no maintenance and vehicle logs. And so Jeremy's going to work with Harold on putting something together. And then last, it was proposed to hire a building inspector or contractor to inspect both Village Hall and Post Office, since Rob had brought that up at the last meeting, to get a detailed list of repairs and maintenance needed.
Any discussion on that?
Curious about the sidewalk tax thing, why it didn't work.
Definitely talked to.
It's not that it couldn't work. It's just that it wouldn't be on Rita's end. And so they just kind of flipped it around and said, hey, if you are going to do something like that, it should just be some kind of, payout or credit on your end, because I mean, in theory, I guess we know how much everyone pays, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think what.
Or they would, file a form. So, I mean, it still could be done.
It's not going to be done exactly the way that we had.
Yeah.
Discussed it originally.
Where did we leave? Help me out. Where did we leave that discussion off? I mean, you were.
I mean, we had put, have Stephanie look into how other municipalities.
Yeah, I think we were just waiting on
And I think we were
responses
gonna
from other
continue.
municipalities.
Okay, so you reached out.
Yeah,
You're gonna get a discount on income tax?
We were thinking about it
Well, how do you do that? I mean, what's the thought
for
process?
for people that live in the village. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's your idea.
I can say it if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
People who still live at the property where they installed a sidewalk, where they were forced to by previous administrations, they could apply to get a discount on income tax. So instead of paying, say, 1%, they would only pay, say, 0.5%. Those are not solid numbers. Those are just for example. And you would save like $200-300 a year, and then that would slowly over time pay you back for the $3,000 you spent putting in your sidewalk. So it wouldn't be a complete payout from the village. It wouldn't be direct money. We wouldn't even see the money in the first place because they'd be saving the money and not giving it to us in the first place. But that was just my idea. So it was sent to the finance committee and I wasn't able to make the meeting because I'm at work that night. So I was just curious on where it went and what happened.
Yeah, we're definitely still discussing that. So,
Yeah.
and,
I'd say that's a pretty tough thing to do.
But some people want a payout for the sidewalk. So if
You
that's
have
what we have to
people,
do, then we
you have
have to
older
do it.
people that aren't paying income.
Does that mean so the village can take our sidewalks over or what?
that is true, so then,
Why?
Because we want to put sidewalks in. Right now we can't because people are saying that they're going to sue us if we do.
So like my sidewalk down there, that's gonna be your sidewalk, all right?
City
So in the
already
winter
owns,
time, are you gonna shovel the snow on it and keep it clean?
city already owns all the sidewalks and that is discussable. We could work into that if it's in the budget. Archbold, the village of Archbold itself does do all of snow maintenance on the sidewalks.
There's a lot of other villages that don't, and they don't own them. Just all depends on whether or not you take that leap. I mean, I can show you all over the place,
Yeah, it's
and it's
all,
villages.
it's all looking into it. It's the end goal is to make it so that everybody is happy. People who had to put sidewalks in forced by a previous government body than us. And then we can go in and put sidewalks in where they're necessary so then our town makes sense.
Well, and repair, what everyone did put in
It's just something that we might have to do to just make everybody happy. But a lot that's being discussed. I'm sorry, I couldn't make it to the committee to.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in a long time.
I agree. Yes.
well, I mean,
You're
what's,
taking away from the revenue from the village.
what's your thought process? I mean, we get a lot of feedback that, people were, forced to put this in. They couldn't really afford it at the time. And that becomes a pain point, when, we see some areas in town that need some repair. And, we have the money, we have the means, to kind of handle that. But those people, are just kind of, burnt, by having to do it on their own dime before. And, we have a different opportunity now, to kind of take care of it.
Yeah, because
And-
I had to have both of my houses done, the yellow
Yeah.
house and mine on the corner.
It would
The
apply to
sidewalks, yeah.
probably less than 20 properties in the village. And it definitely would be cheaper than us giving a payout to those people all at once of like $3,000 each. $200 each to me is way more manageable over a span of time than $3,000 all at once to every single person. And if it's less than 20, then it's not even a lot.
Well, I mean, that was just kind of like, it doesn't have to necessarily be off income tax. It
Well,
could
number
just
one,
be,
I mean, the debate is, I
You know,
don't think the
something-
village owns the sidewalks, number one. Because
Well-
I'm paying taxes for the right of way. And that sidewalk's in the right of way.
Oh, I thought Ken talked about that. They don't actually own
Well, I'm sorry.
that way,
Yes, you do.
whether there was an in-lot or an out-lot.
You pay taxes from the center of the street in.
I think it depends on the lot.
There-
There's some that
Yeah.
are center of the
are-
street and
I
some that
understand
There are
that
a
it could change
couple.
in some places, but you're still to the edge of the road at least.
I mean,
And we have to mow it, we have to maintain it and everything else. If you're claiming ownership,
no, because, I mean,
Why?
we have an ordinance in place that says that you need to mow it.
so big deal.
I'm just,
Taxes on the property. I'm giving you the right of way.
I guess I don't, I mean, we can get some legal clarification on
I
that.
would
If
definitely
that's,
suggest that before
Where
you
are you
get.
gonna get your legal advice at? Not from this attorney you got here that don't know anything but.
from our legal counsel.
Lucas County.
He's in Wood County, actually.
Okay. All
I
right.
think you ought to get somebody here in town or in Bowling Green or Wood County to be your legal advisor because
He
the
isn't.
pond you got up there is stupid.
He is.
I've listened to him 3 or 4 times. And this dictating stuff, like you guys want to dictate to everybody and run the show, it's terrible.
Howard.
No, don't Howard me. God damn it, I'm telling you what it is.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
And if something don't go your way, it's not right. And I'm damn tired of that too.
Howard.
No, don't Howard me because I haven't started to unload yet. It's
Well-
gonna take more than the 5 minutes you got in the bottom of this paper before I get done.
All right. For the record, he is from Wood County. Where were we? Administrative process.
I was done.
Okay. Special ball committee. The council committee, we met the 13th.
Yes. So at the special committee meeting, we had Jeremy Schroeder, Rob Meyerholtz, Dean Babcock, Jessica Sousa, and Brittany Klukowski. And just to review that the special committee is to help the transition for the Weston Sports Initiative Board into a 501c3. So we discussed the 501c3 monetary transfer between the village and the nonprofit organization. As the Weston Sports Initiative Board transitions to a 501c3 in the future, the board will need to open a bank account to receive incoming funds. At the same time, they will then need to spend down the village line item for baseball, which is dedicated to baseball and softball. to a zero amount over time. And that was all suggested by Paul Scaff. We also discussed different timelines for the transition to a 501c3 and the varying pros and cons of each timeline. Some of the benefits included getting an EIN number to coincide with the end of the fiscal year so that the board would be set up for filing the following year's tax documents appropriately and just keeping all of that documentation for themselves. We also discussed the purpose of the current special committee regarding the board, such as looking into types of insurances they may need to get, banking accounts they may need to get, and maybe an accountant, potential exit strategies, 501c3 transfer details, as well as the village's role and the type of interaction we will have with them going forward after that transition to the 501c3. And we have set a goal to dissipate the special committee by the end of 2024 baseball season, having all of their questions answered and met so that they're able to move forward with the 501c3 transition after this year's season. And then we also lastly discussed the potential benefit of suggesting a feasibility study for large projects such as new concession stands or buildings before they invest into significant projects. That's it for that.
It was my understanding at the meeting though, that transition to the 501c3 was not going to take place this year. Is that correct?
Well, I think we were kind of all like best case scenario, sure. But
No.
I
It was determined by other board members that they didn't want to turn it over until the following year. Because in case the committee or the board that you have, that you lost the board.
right, 2024
No,
or
not
is it 2024,
2024,
2025?
Right, we did not want to put it in the contract saying they had to do it within 1 year. However, like the pros and cons of those different timelines, remember when we were talking about, you said if they filed in August, they would get their EIN number before January. Therefore,
In 3 months.
if all goes well, they'll have their EIN number, and this would be the potential benefit. They would have that EIN number, so when they start their fiscal year, January 1, 2025, all of their tax documentation, they would be keeping 2025. They would be a 501c3.
Not my understanding coming out of the meeting that it was going to be pushed into next year because you were afraid that people weren't going to stay on the board.
Well,
If the board disbanded, then you have a 501c3 and you don't have baseball again.
true, but I think what we were just pointing out is that ultimately you do have to see kind of where the board is at the end of the baseball year.
But if they have the 501c3 formed,
Well, I would assume they would do that after that, you know,
then what
that,
she's saying is wrong then.
okay.
What do you mean?
Well, you're saying that they were going to file for their 501c3 this year.
In
That's what you
August,
were just saying.
in
But
August.
what he's saying is that you're not going to file for it.
No, what,
Is
What the
getting
notes-
the EIN, the filing, is that,
That's filed.
Okay.
That's filed.
then what the notes are saying is that our special committee is gonna have everything in line to hand to them at the end of season. So the types of insurances they'll need, all of those things, whether they file and when they file is up to them. But we're gonna have all of that able to hand to them and so that they can work on that over
That's
this,
the case.
yeah,
That's not-
over the
that's not
summer
the case.
and into the
No.
fall with a suggested timeline. But what they do is up to them. It's not for us to govern them. So that's where we're at with that. But we're still discussing the pros and cons of those timelines and that timeline.
And all the funds that they acquire
this year
this
would,
year.
Still goes to the village.
yeah,
But they have the ability to spend that down.
No, that's where I'm concerned at is because I thought the initial plan was to, and this is just from when we first started talking about it, was
Mhm.
to utilize the account that we currently have to spend down. And then any revenue that they get moving forward was going to go in the 501(c) if they chose to start that process sooner. Because I don't know how you can.
I think that's true. I just think we've kind of pointed out it's not really feasible for them to start that right now
Okay, but if you started it in January, right?
of next year.
of
Yep.
Next year, which I have no problem with that,
Mhm.
I guess. I mean, but they can't spend the money.
Well, they can.
And we can't transfer the money either.
The money that they would fundraise for that year would go to them. But they would, there's kind of an understanding that they would be able to, access those funds, from permission with council.
As long as we're able to do that, because I thought the thing was, is they were going to spend the money down to the start of everything, and then any revenue was going to go into that 501(c) once they started it. And
I think there's going to have to be some
they're
overlap.
going to basically
It's like having
file
two
a
bank
type
accounts
thing and
type of
get
thing.
company approval to spend whatever, uniforms, hats, whatever.
Mhm.
You got it. Alrighty, we had a rec board meeting on the 14th.
Oh, in attendance, Samantha Gershitz, Stephanie, Shelby McClellan, Shannon Dussault, Mayor and myself discussed changing meeting date, tapped again until all members are present. Set a tentative schedule for the year, March on the 16th and 17th, the leprechaun hunt, 21st on April, Earth Day, 3 p.m. May, the color run again on the 11th. And the wild, if I've forgotten what that stands for again, it's little educational programs for kids. The program on the 8th and the 25th of that month. June, schools out glow event on the 8th, a wild program on the 5th and 22nd. July ice cream and tie-dye on the 11th, possible community field day, wild program on the 3rd and the 20th. August, block party on 17th, wild program on the 7th and 31st, space night on the 10th. September, grandparents day on the 8th. October, fall fest on the 5th with the rain date sometime in November, Monster Mash on Main, trick or treat, 26th. December, holiday hoopla and tree lighting ceremony on the 7th. Leprechaun hunt will be done a little differently this year, similar to the Grinch hunt. Clues would place at Old Schoolhouse Park and Alumni Park for 2 different age groups. Each park will have 5 different clues to find on your own time on Saturday the 16th, and then on Sunday the 17th, Parks and Rec members will be waiting at the Village Hall for the hunters to enter the codes that they discovered from the clues to unlock the leprechaun's treasure. Budget of $200, unanimously approved. Presented details of the Weston Wild Kids program. Wonder, Imagine, Learning, Discover. There you go. We'll learn about outdoor related topics, activity, read a book, have a snack. Each lesson will be set at a max of 1.5 hours. Will be held May through August on Wednesday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. and Saturday from 10:30 till noon. Topics include rainbows, squirrels, clouds, sun and space, 5 senses, growing and gardening, insects, frogs, and turtles. Earth Day will consist of planting a tree, birdhouse crafts, dirt cup, earth cootie catcher, sounds awesome, seed starter, scavenger hunt. Unanimously approved, a budget of $25 for geocaching supplies. When the walking path is complete, Stephanie shared an idea for an evening and walking program called Holy Guacamoles.
Awesome. Any questions for Dean to take to rec board? Awesome. We also have a report on community development and public affairs. Okay, now that you got your voice warmed up.
All right. Yeah, get some coffee. Get it out the jet. Okay, in attendance, Mayor Ken Taylor, Greg Warner, Jessica Souza, myself, Tom Lashley, Rob Meyerholtz, Kelly Meyerholtz, Ron Dallas, Erica Root, and Brittany Klukowski at that time. Due to referencing the mayor's vacant property program proposal, the group had a lengthy discussion about derelict properties within the village, the conditions and legal processes of finding solutions for problem properties, including lack of compliance with ordinances such as trash, vehicles, health violations, and uninhabitable structures were clarified for the attendees. Mr. Meyerholtz brought up concerns about deteriorating conditions in parts of Lawndale Mobile Plaza, fearing that it would eventually need to be addressed by the village. He also mentioned the drop in population of the village, which shifted discussion to the downtown business district. The lack of accessible space for commercial purposes was noted. Mr. Dowse expressed the need for making the downtown, in particular in the village in general, a destination, and felt that an influx of businesses would be vital to that end. Several of the attendees felt that there was a lack of support for existing businesses, including the farmers market, both by local consumers as well as local government. Mrs. Marholz felt that the village charging local establishments for listings in the newsletter and on the Route 235 sign was a slap in the face and should be remedied. Another possible avenue of expansion brought up was the desire to see an industrial park created on the land adjacent to Dollar General. Suggested that the village obtain a first right of refusal for the property and aggressively promote its commercial use. It was universally agreed that a more vigorous pursuit of grant money needs to take place. Extreme difficulty in finding grant writers was noted. Mrs. Meyerholtz mentioned that the Mayor Van Buren has allegedly been successful in acquiring grants for his village, and it was agreed that it would be wise to reach out for advice. Citing a successful situation in his New York hometown, Mr. Dallas is of the belief that the town sport is the most unifying force in a small village, contributing to the destination theme. He noted in that instance, the ball program, on becoming a nonprofit, was awarded the ubiquitous $1 lease, and that all mowing, maintenance, and desired facility development became the responsibility of the ball program. Down the road, this would free up money and labor for the town maintenance department. It was also expressed by a few that the area encompassing parks and some features within are outsized for this community, and it was their belief that they are underutilized and have minimal impact as well. Lastly, when asked, the main request of the attendees was simply for more support.
All right, any discussion about that? Any questions? We also had a cemetery board meeting.
In attendance, Jody Domer, Diane Hilliard, Dawn Blandy, Tom Patton, Jeremy Schroeder, Harold Boggs, and Jessica Souser. Dawn Blandy was sworn in for a second term. We started discussing the addition and or updated version of decor removal rules for fall and spring due to warmer seasons lasting longer and in preparation for holidays. The request was made to place a privacy fence on the north side of the cemetery in front of the abandoned house. They agreed that Tom and Harold are going to check and mark the property line there. Harold is also going to get a quote for natural arbor fencing options from North Branch Nursery. Tom Patton expressed interest in applying for a mowing position when those come open. And the board, on another note, decided to send a copy of the village's proposal for our administrator to take the sexton duties, or in addition to the current duties. They're going to take a copy of that to Robin Kaiser, who is a board member that could not attend that evening, for potential additions, subtractions, and revisions. The plan is that the board will then resume discussion in March in hopes of having all three board members for a vote in March on that topic. They voted to have Arbor Barber remove the dead maple tree in the cemetery for a quote of $1,200. And they also discussed levy options, including replacement, renewal, or renewal with addition, and the process of filing with the fiscal officer by April so that the vote could be placed on the November ballot. Discussion about donations from the current, the donations that they've received recently from Ralph DeWitt's friends and family. There was discussions of using that to potentially complete the next phase of the memorial tree program that they have in place currently. And they're very grateful for those donations. They thanked everyone that's donated. And that is it.
Do they know the amount of millage they're looking at?
Not yet. They're discussing it.
Do you have any thoughts?
Well, no, I just wonder because the time crunch is getting to be fairly tight and that's gonna go on the November ballot, obviously.
Yeah.
But the decision on whether it's renewal or renewal and additional, I didn't know whether they had a number in mind.
They're discussing a few different strategies. That's another thing they would like Robin to be present for.
All right, awesome. A couple upcoming meetings this week, the 22nd at 5:30. I think that's a Thursday. Safety, and we have Public Works on the 27th at 6 p.m.
Public Works meeting cover Main Street and that stuff that you're gonna do there? Or-
Absolutely, yep. Yep, and we have some information that, we kind of asked finance for, and there's some information coming back to that, so we should be able to continue talking about that. Okay, we do have one order of new business here. So this is an emergency reading for ordinance 2024-3, and this is our pay schedule. And the changes that it has is it sets the rate for the maintenance technician, AKA Gary, to 16 an hour to match what we're paying in grass mowing. And what we've added in here is I thought we were adding in Tom.
Yeah, it's just,
Not by name, but.
no, yeah, it's just putting a base for that position at 16.
The maintenance technician.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'd still be considered a maintenance.
Yeah,
technician.
because I thought what we talked about in that
Oh, you're right. 'Cause
meeting
he's
was
being
that we
paid
were
hourly.
gonna
Yep.
talk more about the different,
Okay.
Later.
yeah, like seasonal. and
Yeah, okay, so this would put into place a rate that's just equal to the grass mowing. Gary was already at 15, 39, I think.
Yeah.
So he was really close to 16. And then the last pay ordinance that we had that dealt with Tom, we were paying him 12 and change. So it was just brought up that he might have to snow plow, possibility for that since Harold was gone. So we just wanted to update to that and note that we're going to look into the pay schedule further. Is that fair? Any questions from the members outside the committee?
So we're gonna do something different if Harold gets absorbed by the cemetery?
Yeah, that's on the agenda until they figure out the position, because,
Yeah,
I'm just saying if
Yeah.
he gets absorbed.
yeah, it'll have to
If
be
we absorb the
updated.
cemetery, how-
right. That is one thing that would have to be addressed in that as well.
The only comment that I do have is $16 an hour. That's what fast food places are paying.
Fair.
Yes.
It's $1 more than Petco base.
Well, we could, I mean, that's something else we can review. That number was just chosen to at least get it to where the cemetery was paying, and you know, that number
That's
was
what the cemetery pays for their seasonal people.
right. Yep, yep. And so then that also takes away the friction, you know, when it's like, oh, is Gary gonna mow or is he gonna mow for the cemetery? Some of the further talk, you know, if Harold did become administrator, you know, there might be an opportunity to do some kind of seasonal for the village too. And so that could also be discussed in regards to the pay
The
ordinance.
cemetery board still looking at doing the hiring for their seasonal?
They indicated they may be, well, I think it's fair to say that they did not want to do that if they were going to go
I
that
think
route.
That's very wise.
Yeah, that's fair, right? None of them,
That was one of the opinions, yes.
The administrators should have
two of them.
full hiring power from that standpoint.
That's definitely the recommendation. And again, because it seems like that could fit kind of our needs in grass mowing season as well. You know, we could do a similar thing. And if he's hiring for that, he might as well be hiring for the cemetery because at that point, they might as well be the same people.
But they can't, if they become the same people, which say it's Tom and
Mhm.
Gary,
Just different clocks.
Yeah,
I get that, but it's not gonna affect anything for getting past the 40 hours. I mean,
It would for Gary or whoever was like the part-time maintenance tech. But the other positions we're talking about are something like the cemetery seasonal maintenance.
right, but if Gary's one and the same with that.
Right. Yeah, he'll just have to ride
20
this.
hours out of this fund and 20 hours out of this fund.
Yeah, that's-
40 hours, that's not an issue with full-time
No, there's,
payroll.
they're hired as a part-time person. They have to stay under
Yeah.
those hours, even if they work at both. So they have to watch their hours when they're clocking in and out of the different departments.
Yeah, that wouldn't change.
It's not, I mean, the overall together doesn't affect.
he would
It
still,
does, yeah.
Yeah, it does. They just have to watch their hours because they're set up as part-time.
So he can only work 20 hours there, 20 hours here.
Well,
No,
not even.
it
Like-
has to be under,
under,
That's what I'm getting at because
yeah.
be 35 hours with us.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing he's always had to deal with. The only difference before was he made a different rate at each,
yeah.
you know, place, and, you know, that has been contentious before. So,
I'm wondering if we might just take a little bit further look at the fact of whether or not you would really want to possibly pull it out of both funds from that standpoint. And I don't know how you'd be able to do it.
like
but-
cemetery and,
Well, making your workers totally responsible for both cemetery and village, it doesn't make any difference at that point, especially if it's the same amount.
right. Well,
Just looking how you.
Yeah, there
probably
could be a way to,
To break that up.
yeah.
they have that pool. I mean, there's
The
a
way
value
it
on
is
that.
now is the cemetery, yeah, they have a pool.
Right.
So they do have to clock in, so we're able to track their hours
understand
and
that.
how it deducts. But if it needs to be split like evenly between, you know, cemetery or whatever during that time.
I think it's worth taking a look
Yeah.
at to see whether or not, because actually the cemetery could actually, there may be a way that those funds just directly come to us for the services, right? And it's not necessarily contracted, which you can't do, but I mean, it's just funds, the dollar.
Like just be like
Yeah.
lands and buildings type
Correct,
deal.
yeah, that type of thing. I'm just
Mhm.
saying investigate it so it makes it easy for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about as well. Sure. It'd be easier. It wouldn't be,
I think it'd be
We'll be
easier for
tracking
the
the hours.
administrator to be able to budget the time
Yeah.
for mowing wherever.
Right. well, the nice thing is it is built into the clock system at least. So I mean, it's relatively easy at that, you know, you can kind of put that on the employee.
Well, the other thing is like, not trying to get technical, but Gary's the type of guy that he won't use the lawnmower that's out there. He'll use the village lawnmower because it's not zero turn.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it's still the village's deal, I suppose.
Yeah, it is until we start paying for more maintenance.
Repairs.
So,
That's where I'm getting at, is because that one time he used the township's mower. Mike's was right next to it.
Right.
I mean, that kind of stuff that stuff has to be duly noted on what he's allowed to do there and here. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he's gonna have to start doing the work, or I'm sorry, it just doesn't fit the mold anymore, you know, if he's not able to take direction. You know, it's what happens.
I think the township mower has been addressed.
Okay.
Okay, is there any further discussion? If not, do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Glukowski?
Yes.
Mr. Babcock?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Suster?
Yes.
Mr. Meyerholtz?
Yeah.
Mr. Easterwood?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to approve ordinance 2024-3?
Yes.
I suppose I should read it. An ordinance establishing employee wage schedules, declaring an emergency. So we have a first over here. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the bills?
Move to approve.
We have a move to approve. Do we have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? And then miscellaneous, I had started to talk to Rob about this, but Rick, when we were talking in administrative process, just about how we were looking at changing the committee notes form. Right now, it's kind of like hitting you with bullet points. And we'd like to be able to, try to write them more like council minutes and then publish them on the website, just so people, kind of have a little bit more insight on what's going on. And
Well,
do you have any,
yeah, I'm not a clerical and I'm not a secretary. I'm sticking with the point minutes. I'm saying if you want, I'm just saying, I mean, I'll teach you how to rebuild a motor and all this other stuff, but typing is not my thing. Bottom line.
give you a hand, we can give you a hand. We just want to have something that we can, post to the people and they get
I'll see what I can do.
a great idea.
It's,
It doesn't have to be an awesome piece of literature. It just has to be informational.
There's been other discussion about the bullet point form,
Mhm.
and I myself like the bullet point form. Now, I only have one committee, which is safety committee, which is mainly just data facts of how many runs. It's pretty hard to embellish or narrative it or whatever it is you're looking for.
I don't think you have to narrative everything.
Well, but then the judgment thing is you're saying you're putting in a council rule, which it's already in council rule.
Yeah, that's been identified.
And I think that committee chairman should have the right to determine how they're going to present the information.
Okay.
And one other key factor that I did think about an awful lot is the fact that if you put that out to the public, I know that it's public information. But to me, if you put that out to public and you have council meeting minutes out to public, there is a lot of loose interpretation and probably insights that may be made at committee that aren't happening on council, that it sends kind of a mixed message or a sense of confusion. Now, and if they want to, I mean, gladly give it to them, but just to put it out there for them to digest could be a little difficult. That's all I'm gonna say.
Put it out there and let them ask questions.
Hmm?
Put it out there and let them ask questions.
And say, let them contact us. All of our contact information is
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean-
website. I would love it if somebody sent me.
I'm not worried about that.
Explain this to
I
me.
absolutely.
What I am more worried about is the fact they take what comes out of committee and they don't follow us. And
I get that.
that's, in this town,
Well-
is 90% of the problem.
You're gonna get that. Maybe this will encourage them to contact us because then they have it written down. It's not word of mouth anymore. they can read it. If they have questions on it, they can contact us.
I mean, that insight is pretty important. I mean, that's what moves towards, doing whatever is being discussed.
Yeah, too many times it's already decided by the time it gets here. That's the problem.
And,
And there's no time for
and-
discussion or any
back,
discussion.
back to the form, the discussion was just, kind of, administratively, we kind of provide, this form and this rolling agenda, to kind of, have some cohesiveness. And it was just discussed that, after talking with Craig, I got to sit down with Craig and we had like a good, conversation about how we could provide more information to the public. And, that was kind of, how it went.
Well,
is
in a lot of cases,
changing the form up a little bit to kind of encourage that and just
in a lot of cases,
and keep all those things in mind, when writing the minutes.
well, the bullet points to me make the most sense because it is factual, to the point, and done. I was approached by a council member tonight about the fact that they like the bullet points.
Okay.
And I just think it's what we're getting, what I'm also afraid of, and I've already seen it in a number of places on the nosy asses of Weston and whatever it's called, where you have council people are talking and representing council through Facebook stuff.
How are they representing
I don't
council?
know who's doing that.
How are they representing council?
You were stating as a council person what to do.
I'm a council person in general, and I have a personal Facebook page that doesn't say I'm a council person on it. So if I was not using the Village of Weston Facebook, was I representing the council or myself and my own personal thoughts and anything that's my personal?
I'm saying that
But also, you were telling people what to do is based on what? I mean, what was she?
What
I'm
was I
saying
supposed
that
to
it could be
do?
interpreted as that. That's my point.
I stated very clearly that it was all a thought process, and I was encouraging people to come to committee meetings. And from that thread, I was approached by multiple people on my Facebook saying, I don't have time to go to committee meetings. I wish that it was available for me to read, just like the council minutes. And I told them they can come to me with ideas and I will try to go to those committees for them. But if the committee meetings, the committee minutes are available online, that will get rid of all of that confusion that happened that I chose to address myself personally.
I mean, she is 1/6 of the vote. I mean, the form is questionable, but getting, information out there is important.
Well, I'm concerned with the various Facebook pages that people comment on based on what the village is supposedly doing. I'm not saying you'd lied to them. I'm saying that it is an interpretation for them on the Facebook page. And believe me, those Facebook pages, there's a lot of interpretation that's not good.
I had a lot of people approach me about it and
I
it
think
was
you were
all
right.
cleared up.
And more official record, I mean, could help with that.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we just, whoever takes, whatever chair of the committee takes notes, whatever way, we publish them in that way. If we're gonna
That's the way it
if
should.
we're gonna publish them in bullet point form, then Public Works and Safety can publish in bullet.
I think the idea behind this change or update is, I'm gonna use our administrative process. Before, we probably would have put committee meeting summaries were discussed. That's it.
But
I
that's
mean,
not
that
what you're doing.
doesn't have much information to it, so elaborate. Then, currently it says committee meeting summaries were discussed. Committees and boards should be writing minutes so the public knows the details of the meeting, blah, 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 a little more detail. I mean, yeah, things were discussed. We know that the agendas are out
Right,
there, but
Right.
just a little bit more detail can be helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if we decide not to put them online, at least the minutes are there in our binders and people can come and inspect them, that's kind of what the idea behind this update is. I mean,
There are certain things that only get discussed. I mean, as long as the subject matter is brought up and that it's under discussion. I don't know how many times I heard that here tonight, that it'll be under discussion. I mean, that happens in committee meetings. You don't go to one committee meeting, you make all your damn decisions that night, especially when it comes to you know, certain things like the,
I think the point is just instead of saying, hey, this was discussed, elaborate, you know, what were a couple things that were discussed about it? You know, if it was discussed,
that'll
then,
be on my bullet points, quite honestly, with what
Okay.
it is.
yeah,
I indicate whether or not it's an actionable item or not.
I think we should just leave it at that. Let other people take notes the way they want.
I mean, that's fine.
Because, yeah, I'm in the agreement that I think I think people are busy. I know, Rob, you brought up people don't go to school board meetings.
Okay.
And we're busy. And people don't have time to go. People don't have time to go to all the committee meetings and council meetings. So why are we not making that information more accessible as to what's being discussed so that they can read it on their own? And we can talk about, well, they may interpret it wrong. They're going to interpret things wrong anyways. Let's just put the information out there and let them interpret it and see what happens.
That's fine.
We can't control how they're going to interpret it.
We'll see how it works.
Well, I mean, like I'm just going by with Public Works and I'm the sheriff that. It just seems like a lot of the decisions that gets made has to come back to, you know, whatever finance, whatever you want to call it now. And then and sometimes a lot of the stuff is discussed before it even comes to me to say present, you know what I'm saying? You know, like budget, you know, I mean, I can tell you what we were supposed to carry over or what we were going to do. Then like, you know, Harold drops off one estimate that day before the meeting, you know, and I'm trying to do my best, but the forecast is the forecast and I can only stick with what I
mean, that's a big one, you know, it has a lot of numbers, you know, that are thrown around and yeah, I mean, you know, the idea wasn't, you know, to write a novel, you know, is just more of like encouraging detail, you know, like Stephanie said. And we can help with, you know, putting some of that more technical information.
The chairman of each committee should have control over that. That's what they're there to do.
Okay.
Something
That's why
I
was a suggestion.
just thought of, but haven't thought of before. When we're putting this up, because we keep using the word like discuss, we're bringing up the point that, as we've all said, a lot of these things, you don't make a decision. We all know this in one meeting, and that might, you know, it starts with a brainstorm and it's going to change through those discussions. It's going to look different as we get quotes. So can we add a disclaimer that says these things are subject to change? They are in process until they've hit their third reading, at which point, like, can we explain that process?
Actually, the draft minutes of this meeting right now today is public information.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be approved by us to be able to turn it loose.
All right.
Right. I'm just thinking so the way I look at it, when we're posting our notes, and yes, I did say I like the bullet points, but I like reading bullet points as well. Like when I'm reading something and it's a long piece of paper, I go through a lot of admin at my other job. So I'm like, I want to get through it quick. I like bullet points. I like reading bullet points. I like typing in bullet points. It's easier for me to keep my thoughts. But I think just having a disclaimer for all of our notes saying that please understand all of this information is transitory and subject to change. Stressing, if you have questions, please call, and giving numbers. So we're just heading that off from the.
Maybe that's something like when they get posted in the certain tab on the website, that maybe that itself could have something that, you know, this is a committee,
Right.
you know, yeah, like some kind of disclaimer.
So nothing really we say in committee is gospel until it gets to.
Mm-mm,
No,
right,
but it is,
exactly.
but it is public forum
I get
though.
that, but
So I mean, my goal is just to get it published on the website so that so that the information is out there.
Like, there's some people who work every time that there's a certain committee and they have a really great idea and they want to go to that committee, but they don't know anything that's happening.
we have, I don't know, a suggestion post on our website, then they can do that. I mean, I'm not trying to be contradictory or anything, but it's just that we have a format, we have a, you know, platform, like then everything's digital, you know, I mean, they can write their concerns on that too as well. I mean, not everybody's gonna come to every meeting. I get it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to be the best I can be to give the narrative or the notes that was addressed in that committee meeting, but to write a novel, to say whatever, I mean,
Once again, not requesting a novel.
I'm just saying, that's not me.
All right.
Can I say one more thing?
Yep.
I just want to say for the record that I think whatever it is, Brittany represents herself very well on Facebook and in the Facebook groups.
Thank you, Greg.
Howard?
I've got, two or three things. The first one is Gary using his truck for village business.
Mhm.
What is the liability to the village for this?
As far as I know, that's been cut off.
It was the other day when he was loading stuff down at the post office, taking it upstairs.
Was it just him?
I don't know.
I'm just asking,
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
asking the question. I'm just,
But that's a liability to the village, isn't it?
yep.
A big one. All right. Put an end to that.
Yeah, I've had a discussion with him on that, so.
Okay, now what is the final cost of this walkway that you're talking about out here? The final cost,
Half or the
the whole thing, yeah,
or the
path,
sidewalk to the dog owner.
the whole thing.
There's separate things.
Those
There's
are
two different
There's two
things.
different projects. You're talking about the walking path. right?
The walking path around the grass area. You talking about both stages,
There's 3 phases.
3 phases?
Right now, what's been approved to be spent is what, like $23,000, and that does the excavating, grading, and stone and packing of the walk path.
That's what, 20?
23.
23,000 approximately.
All right, then you're talking about blacktopping. What's that gonna cost you?
So blacktopping, we're trying to get done with a grant. And we wrote this project for a grant last year. And the feedback was that that they weren't opposed to the project, but that, you know, we needed more, you know, kind of, you know, buy-in, and you know, doing phase 1 is one way to show that the village has buy-in to the project. So ultimately, we're trying to get, you know, a grant to do the paving part. There probably would be a match, some kind of match. Do you know what Clean Trails it is? Do you remember?
25%.
25% match. So we're trying to get the majority of that funded by grant, and that would be in the upcoming years. The other thing we've committed to is we purchased some trees with the remainder of our tree fund last year, and we're going to be planting trees in that area, like along the walk path as well, like some, you know, decent sized trees.
Okay, another thing that I just got some questions about. I talked to Steph the other day, and talking about the taxes on the properties that the village owns. And
Okay.
there's one that really concerns me quite a bit. And I think if council would sit there and think about it, just a few minutes, the old pump station out there.
Okay.
Talking about the one on Sandra Drill?
Oh, clear out?
Yeah,
Beaver Creek.
out there at Beaver Creek. What is it costing to maintain that property and stuff out there?
Honestly, I don't think it costs us a thing because the Weston mom takes care of most of it.
Yeah, since I've been here, I don't think we've ever maintained it.
I don't think that's being maintained currently by us.
All right, that's a memorial out there to those 2 boys that drowned.
Mhm.
Why don't you contact the parents of those 2 boys and give them the property? Give them the property. Or sell it to them for $1.
Sure.
You get it off of your taxes. Make sense or not?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. It's, I don't think it's a bad idea. I wonder if you'd want to own it if
There's such
that-
a liability gonna happen there. And I thought about what you just said, and especially with $1, they tried to sell that bridge going across from Waterville off Forest Road because the state did nothing to do with it. So they sold it to an individual for $1, but they made that person come up with a certain amount of criteria to keep it, which was non-access. That's my biggest fear is that if you do something like that with the engineering that's already established there, I'd hate to put any fiscal responsibility on those individual parents for whatever case may be, because it's still an not active, but the stuff's still there, right? So I'd hate to see them take on that responsibility.
The only thing that's there is the foundation and
Okay.
everything else that they have
Well,
put in.
well, how about this? Cause I don't know enough on that property out there, to know better. How about we take that to a committee? I mean, that's something.
I think
we're
it's a great
discussing.
idea, but I hate, for whatever reason, we dump this off, which I think.
They maintain
I
it.
know, I totally get that,
Yeah.
but if there is something out there that becomes or potential is a hazard, I hate to have them absorb any cost. I'd like to do some research to find out if it's totally up to snuff, you know what I'm saying? As far as the pump house itself, the foundation, anything inside there that they're not gonna be responsible.
There shouldn't be anything inside there when they tore the pump house.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they filled it in, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I think it was pretty much filled in, if I remember correctly, but
I think it's a good.
I haven't been out there, but.
Anything else?
I was gonna add to that. It got me thinking about, you guys all saw that big stack of all the properties we own. I was gonna put a list together of things like that one that, like, why do, ones that you could question, like, is there something, can we get rid of it? So I was gonna put a description together and probably a picture of the parcel just.
At
And
least
Like
they
you get from
contact,
different properties.
contact the parents and talk to them and see what,
I'm gonna drive by there every other Saturday. I think they're doing a wonderful job out there and I'm saddened for them, you know what I'm saying? But, they made it their own shrine and nobody has governed anything that they couldn't do or wouldn't do or shouldn't do. I think it's a good idea.
I was out there the other evening and walking around and all the lights and stuff that they've got set up out there. They put a lot of money in that place.
Yeah, you come back from the other direction, because I come from Dashler every time. You come back there, it's lit up just as well. And it's cool. It's nice.
And have any of you ever been out there to look at that property over?
I've been out there years ago.
Yeah, not recently.
Well, that bridge is in terrible shape.
No, I know that.
The cross braces that hold the bridge together are rusted off and they're hanging in the water.
You talking about the actual bridge you go
The
across,
bridge itself.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, the township meetings. Second Tuesday of the month.
That's what?
If they're responsibility.
problem.
I don't know that that's true.
Well, it's
It's Sam County Bridge.
county bridge, but they have to do all the logistics for it, though. Let's put it this way.
I'm not saying you guys have to do it, but I'm just saying.
Oh, I
that bridge
agree with
is in
that.
terrible
They
shape.
didn't want to, the township didn't want to change the bridge on Range Line Road and, where does Steve live at? Willow Road. So you know what they did? They just closed it off.
Mhm.
Dead end road. So I'm just saying, they have their whole thing and they were fighting that with the county engineering office because it's not the township's ditch, it's
That bridge has been in and out there since,
I've jumped off that thing many times.
The WPA.
Right, and anything else, Howard?
no, that's it.
So, okay. Right next door?
About the walking path,
Okay.
I think the amount is too much and I really don't think you need it, because if you want to walk the grass, walk the grass. I do it.
Okay.
I take my dog out there. Well, I can't right now because of my legs, but I was walking her all the time out there. I just don't think there's no need for a whole path. That's my point. That's all I'm gonna say. I think it's too much money and wasted the town
the money that for the first phase is coming from the ARPA money, right?
Right.
So it's nothing coming out of our general fund. It was leftover money from the American Rescue Plan money that we used for the bridge. So the first phase, if it goes nowhere, it's not coming out of nobody's pocket, okay? The second phase and the third phase, may, so.
Right.
And all the maintenance for it will come out of our pockets.
The maintenance, that's gonna.
Yeah.
Cause every couple of years, you're gonna have to, seal it,
If you plan on keeping it.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Put it in and just let it rot away? I mean. I don't think.
I mean, those are great thoughts. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of what we're dealing with on our sidewalks as well, trying to figure out how to make sure that they don't just rot away.
It looks like a lot of stones being thrown by the kids out there.
Yeah.
Well,
It'll be
Put it
just,
in, yeah.
it'd be just like what's on those ball
And
fields.
then Gary will have to mow over him and he'll be irate.
He's irate all the time.
all right. Anything else? Those are great observations. Thank you.
Well, I'm just, okay, I'm done, I guess.
How's it going?
I have nothing but.
On record at least.
Sit down to me.
All right.
She'll talk.
Mr. Dallas, anything for council? Mr. Patel, anything for council?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you. Great job, everyone. Just a few suggestions. There's a lot less interaction from citizens because they don't know what is going on. So
Right.
I would suggest if, I appreciate the whole thing about committee bullet points, whatever, but when you publish the agenda, whatever you're doing with your emergency readings, if you can publish it with that agenda, just a one-liner with the committee headlines, which is, okay, we had a Parks and Recs. This is what we are going to do. And give the citizens the time before you vote yes or no, because it doesn't matter what I say after you have already voted.
Right. Yeah. I mean, typically emergency readings are financial in nature.
Yes, but you already knew about the problems beforehand.
Okay.
It
I feel you.
wasn't
I
like,
feel you.
oh, it happened yesterday, we gotta do it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, you're right. There is some lag between like discussion and then reporting. Yeah, that's an interesting point. That's something to think about for sure.
And that is the reason why you have to defend the village on social media, is because the information is not out there. No one's here. It's
Right.
you guys, Howard, me, Ron. And that's typically how the council meetings work. And that shouldn't be like that. There should be people out there so you know what the people want. Facebook post, comment, survey does not matter. You did a BGSU survey. There were 26 participants, and you cannot use that as a reference when we have a population of 1,500. So, pretty much, I see if you can do it that way. Let the people know ahead of time on your website. Let the people speak beforehand, because you are all representatives voted by the community.
I mean, are we talking about the pay schedule or something else?
No, I'm talking about everything in general.
Yeah, in general, I would say that most things in general, do have multiple discussions that do go through the 3 meetings, plus committee, and absolutely, Jigger. I mean, that's my hope, is if we are publishing the committee meeting minutes, that there
You
is
don't have to publish
more
the
time to
whole-
learn about, those things in order to ask questions. Absolutely.
Coming from a business line of aspect, that what I'm in, it doesn't matter if you give the whole details. No one has the time to read through 10 pages. You give a one headliner that, okay, we are gonna create a 501(c) or C3 for the Parks and Recs. What do you think? That's it. And put it down.
I agree. No one should have to write a novel.
Yes. So, you can do that. There's no need for a whole page. But if you want to represent the town, get their input, have more people in that building, that's what you need to do. It's a suggestion, but something to, change the procedure. Because if you're listening to the citizens after you've already voted, it's after the fact. And that's probably why we don't have that much interaction at the council hall as much as what I have at the Western Market.
All right. Anything else?
Nope. That said, just hold on a second. I have a friend that would like to say something.
Sure.
Good evening, Greg Stevens.
Yes, sir.
I just want this on the record so it's officially noted. You guys are proposing there's going to be a levy for the cemetery in November, correct?
I think we're just saying that it is being discussed by the board. Because it's going to be up for renewal, I think at the end of
It's
2025.
expiring, yes.
I think it's expiring in 2025.
Then just now, I just want this, just for the record, so we all
Sure.
are clear on it. The cemetery is 100% in the township, correct?
Yes.
The land is correct.
It is 100% in the township. And yet we are proposing again, I think rather recklessly, that the total funding of this is only paid for by landowners of the village of Weston. Is that what's being?
That's how a levy works. Yes.
The landowners
landowners.
of the village of Weston are paying 100% of the bill for something that is 100% in the township. The township pays nothing.
Township
Right.
pays more in burials and lots than village residents.
And they pay what for upkeep?
What?
It's the only property owners in the village of Weston funding the upkeep of a property that is 100% in the township. I just want that on the record for when this comes up, something that we can make sure is on the record. Is that the fact?
I mean, that's how it works, Greg. Yes.
Okay.
And that's, it comes up to vote and people get to decide.
Perfect. So this
Yep.
is going to be on record. That's all I want.
Okay. Yeah. As far as I know, all of that is factual.
Okay, and a little side note, Rick, I feel your pain about the note taking they're discussing with committees. I hear it, I feel it. I'm with you. I'm going to take hand notes and pass them on. As long as you fully discuss with everybody in council and it goes on the record, that is full accountability and knowledge for all the public to access. I'm with you.
Anything else, Greg?
No, that's all. Thank you.
All right, Erica, anything for council? And Mr. Dallas, and anything?
I just went out to the garage.
All right.
We have a last meeting.
All right, and with that, I think everyone's been addressed. Adjourn.
Yeah.
Curious.
Be there 11 minutes. I ain't coming.
I wanted that to be.